Thank you, and good afternoon, all of us here. Affirmative Action Advisory Commission meeting for the City of Davenport comes to order Thursday, March 5th, 2020. Scott, thank you for creating the minutes and agenda, things like that. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes.
They are here. If anyone wants to refresh them, we'll be back in April 4th of 2019.
So,
Michael
yes,
made me.
Michael. So, please forgive me if I am a little bit up and down in the way I'm speaking. So here today, but the first item on our agenda is approval of minutes for April 2019. Any
motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Thank
Second.
you. Thank you, Jasmine. Any any discussion? There, anyone? Thank you. The next.
Just had, then you have to do a vote.
All those in favor?
Oh, no.
Oh, see, things been a long time. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who are, okay, we have all ayes. Thank you very much, all of us here. The old business is the first on the agenda is 2020 commission goals. That's what I think we started the last time. And I just thought this morning, might as well share it as a Google Drive. So if any one of us has any ideas, we can have all of it together for discussion, and as well as, maybe just going through it.
And I did print out copies for everyone.
Thank you.
But yeah, I would suggest that we can do a discussion of what's on here, but I think if you have additional ideas, we can have that as a working document through the Google, and you just add continue items.
Yes, I feel so too. If it's okay with you all, if we could continue it that way, that would be. So, Scott, do you think I could go to the next one, which is the 2020 police officer recruitment?
Yes.
And application process?
So the applications for police officer opened on Sunday. I checked earlier today, we're sitting at about 30 applicants as of right now that have already applied in less than a week. So I think and it's gonna be open for 5 weeks. It closes April 5th. At this point, because the current list, actually we may expire the list based on when we hire someone off the list. The list may be expired here in the next month or so. So it's timely that we're gonna have another process because we're gonna need a new list. But at this point, it looks like we'll send at least 2 officers to the August Police Academy. That's just filling vacancies that have been created. So we're going to definitely have at least 2, but I would expect that we usually see a handful of officers. Over the last 2 years, we've hired 24, and that's been pretty good. But we've got 3 more police officer applicant workshops. I know you've attended a workshop. I think, Vera, you've attended a workshop in the past too. But if either of the 3 remaining workshops work into your schedule, it's a great opportunity to come see. It's really where we just allow interested individuals that are considering applying, we give them a good rundown of the process, because it's a comprehensive, competitive, arduous process that they got to methodically go through.
And just as a refresher, reminder, am I correct in this last group of hires that the groups that we hired did a much better job as far as meeting the demographics of our community, that we had increased, that we had a female, we had Latino, we had African American,
we had a good mixture.
Had improved.
Yes, yeah. And I think overall, I've looked at the overall numbers, department-wide, we were sitting at about, I gotta think here, I wanna make sure I get this right. We were at a 92% Caucasian and 8% minority. We're now at 90% Caucasian and 10% minority in the department. So we're making some strides. And I know that the current officers that are going through the field training officer program right now they've all moved to phase 2, so they're moving through the process as well. So that's really good. So yeah, those applicant workshops, we've got 3 left. I highly suggest you attend those if it works into your schedule, because they're very informative. And it really, good community and relationship building that we're doing with those. Like I said in my email, yesterday, myself, the chief of police, and also Officer Brittany Taylor, one of our new officers, she's been on about 2 years. She's a Western Illinois University graduate. We went down to Macomb, and we were only scheduled to go into 2 different classes, speak to the students, and get out of there. But when we got there, professors heard that we were there, and we ended up speaking to 3 separate classes, but it included 5 different classes because 2 other classes came into the same room, and we were able to. So we talked to a good 125 students, and a lot of them are about to graduate, so they're going to be looking for jobs, and probably 85 to 90% of them are looking at a career in law enforcement. Okay. And within the university setting, great diversity, a lot of females, a lot of racial and ethnic diversity within the classes as well. So we did, I think, a decent job of selling Davenport. So that was good. I think, and it's been a while since we've actually gone on site. But while we were down there, Captain Emming, Officer Martin Gonzalez, and Officer Carver were over at Western Illinois Quad Cities campus. They had a career fair going on in the afternoon. So we were represented over there as well. So I think we're going to have another good pocket of applicants. And as we get closer to the actual physical ability testing dates, I know some of you have come up to St. Ambrose in the past to watch the candidates go through the physical ability testing. I'll make sure you have that information as well. Come on up. The St. Ambrose University Wellness and Rec Center is gorgeous, and it's a great collaborative partnership that the city has with St. Ambrose, because that allows us to do all the testing inside. We don't have to worry about the weather or running in the rain or, all that. They can do all the testing inside, and then they go take their written exam.
So they stopped running on the river?
We stopped running on the river. Now they run around the track inside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, last year we couldn't run on the river because they would have been running in the river.
I know, but the year we sat in on, they did run on
Yeah,
the river.
they did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the last 2 times we've been able to do it up at St. Ambrose, they've been really nice. Because school's in session while we're doing that. So that's kind of the juggle, or we try to be good neighbors with even the students in there too.
The beauty is I've seen that there's a curiosity, what's happening, because
Yeah.
they see police officers standing, the students and things like that. And the other thing that I wanted to, while you're talking about recruiting and going to colleges, you had, as you had sent us there's a job posting already on the website for police on the City of Davenport's website. So we had shared it along with the Criminal Justice Department, because we have one officer, Dwight, I think, Officer Dwight, who is from Ambrose, who
Sure.
got his master's degree in criminal justice. So we had posted that saying that questions ask Officer Dwight.
Yeah.
He's our alum, kind of a thing, So
Sure.
we were trying to see how we could use him as a mentor
Mm-hmm.
for our students. So that's how we were trying to kind of,
Yeah.
So I could see an interest peak up in students saying, oh, this is something to consider.
Absolutely,
Doing criminal justice.
And actually, right now, Sergeant Andrew Harris and Sergeant Nick Shorten are both enrolled in the Masters of Organizational Leadership
MOL.
program, MOL. Now they're going through it together. So they're Bs right now.
They are
Yeah,
bees.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anytime you want to be involved in our process, attending the testing dates and sites, please, I'll make sure you have that information, because it's eye-opening. At the end of the day, we take great pride in the fact that we only hire the best. Deep integrity and moral character and honesty and trustworthiness, and our process is set up that way. All while trying to increase the diversity of the Davenport Police. I always like to tell the story that anytime a squad car rolls into a neighborhood or a fire truck responds to a fire or a house fire or a call, I want to increase the chances that a little boy or girl will see someone like them, either in that squad car or in that fire truck. That's the goal.
Yeah.
So, and we're making some strides. That's good. It feels good.
And when you talk about little children, you probably may have seen it, but public library, especially in summer, we do things such as come and touch the truck or sit in the truck. That is to create a further awareness that, who knows, so they might
Yeah.
be in that one day, but there's a
And-
lot of appreciation and families want that,
Yeah,
so
and Parties in the Park are continuing this year
this year too,
Yeah.
yeah.
in
Yeah.
different parks.
Yes,
Some of
like
the
last
less
year.
known parks, I think
Right.
there's gonna be like 7 or 8 different
Right.
parties in the parks, yeah.
Right.
Another great opportunity for outreach.
Yep.
Another
Yeah, I know
great
they had
opportunity.
that last year. They had the Easter egg hunt. So this little boy had won the bicycle,
Oh.
and he was carrying the bicycle, and then they had all the cops around him. So I goes up. I said, "Well, what did he do?" And they say, "No, no." But I didn't know they. I mean, they were surrounding him. They had his little bike, and he was just standing there. So
Girl.
I didn't know where his parents was, so I went up. They said we was asking him. He had to walk back to Jefferson School, and they was gonna take him in the bike. I said, "Well, that's fine." I was so proud of him, but I'm
He
just
said,
that
what
way.
did he do?
Yeah, he was on his little bike, and then they was talking to him, and he said he had to go back over to Jefferson, and he was gonna ride his little bike.
Right.
So they all was around him, and I said, "Oh my." Inquiry minds, but I thanked him. I took a picture and I
Yeah.
sent it to Paul to tell him that you got great policemen,
Yeah.
and he was in D.C. So he
sure.
responded back, and he sent me a picture of him and his roommate, and he was an African American.
What did he do?
That's great.
And when you're talking about Paul, that's so excellent to see that they're doing reading programs in schools and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I saw Paul do it. I saw Andrew Harris.
Then they
do
had
it. That's
another
so
guy.
nice.
He was doing it with Jefferson with me. He was doing it in the morning, and I was doing it in the afternoon.
Nice.
Yeah, it is. It let the kids know that even though they got the badge, they shouldn't be afraid to ask.
Exactly.
Talk.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm not.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody that. You don't know till you ask.
Yeah. Very true. No, very true. Yeah.
Any questions about the police officer process or?
Someone, again, this is just a thought, I'm throwing it at all of us here. Someone asked me in the library once, I was saying about police officer and all that, and I mentioned to them about, this is a little while ago, okay, this is not recent. And this person is from a native of Alaska who's come here.
Yeah.
And, interested. I mean, I don't know whether it's an actual interest, but interested. And she said, what would you do? And she doesn't have it right now. And that's a question which was interesting. She said, culturally, and there's a name for it, and I forget, they have dots that they tattoo here. It has a cultural meaning to it.
Yeah.
There is cultural, and she explained it to me, what it is. And because she knew that tattoos which are seen are not
Hand, face, and neck, yeah.
are not permitted. But she said, what would you do to something which is cultural?
Yeah,
And
that's
I
a
said,
good question.
you pose a very interesting question to me that, I don't have an answer, but that is something that I will carry it with me and ask my fellow commissioners and Scott about it. So she said, and I'll send you the story, what it means. There's a cultural story,
Absolutely.
about it. So that was her question.
I think there's some of that also with the South Pacific cultures.
Yeah.
That some of the tattoos are the same way.
Absolutely.
Right, right.
Well, actually, in part of since it's an hour and a half down to Macomb and an hour and a half drive back from Macomb, that's just a long drive, really. But I had some good time with the chief and good conversation, and actually tattoos came up.
Right.
Because in the past, because right now it would be a violation of the professional standards that had tattoos on the hands, the face, or the neck, immediate disqualifier.
Right.
Okay, unless you have them removed. They lessened the tattoos on the arm. They now allow tattoos on the arm. Before you could have no tattoos on the arm at all, but now they allow them. But they have to be, when you're working, they have to be covered either with a sleeve or your shirt. So they're covered. But he's actually, agreeable to even lessening that at some point, or at least engaging in the conversation, because he doesn't want it to be a hindrance or a barrier. And, you know, I'm a fan of tattoos. I mean, I don't mind.
Right,
I think it's
right.
art. It's a lot of it is incredible artwork.
Right.
Incredible. I would say as long as it's not offensive.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't like want someone with a swastika. No, that would be completely out of bounds.
Right.
But I could see us at some point allowing the visible showing of tattoos on the arms, or you know, that could happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So.
I really appreciated she bringing this up. She said,
Yeah,
you know, this
and
is
that's
very
I've
cultural.
never thought of that.
You know,
And so
that's
yeah, I'll
something.
kind of inquire about that.
And I will share the story that goes behind it through email. It's pretty interesting what she told me about, you know, why,
Yeah.
you know, so
Absolutely.
thank you.
No,
Thank
that's
you
good.
for,
That's
you
good.
know, thank you. Do we have any questions for Scott about this, about the police vehicle? I think the next one, Scott,
And then
in the agenda
firefighter,
is firefighters.
So just a clarification, so within HR, I'm the hiring manager for the police department, so I have the most knowledge and the most working ability with the police department. Courtney Jones, who's my colleague in HR, she's actually the hiring manager for the fire department. But I'm gonna be assisting her with this particular upcoming recruitment that I think will start in about October for the fire department. Because they don't currently do workshops like we do for police department. And she's a believer in that, so I'm gonna help her design the workshops. So we'll take those out to the community and allow people, because the fire department is even less diverse than the police department. So we've got even more work to do there. Even like I think the last 10 firefighters that we've hired have all been white males, I think, and with the exception of one white female. So we've got some work to do. So that'll be upcoming in October, or I think the process starts in October, so probably September would be the workshops. But just wanted you to all know that that'll be another, opportunity to help get the word out that Davenport Fire Department is hiring. And we're looking for increased gender and racial and ethnic diversity.
And I would think that would even be more important to have the workshops for them.
Yes.
Because not only do they work together, but they live together.
Absolutely, yeah.
And, you know, so I think that would be.
They spend 24 hours with their team.
Yep.
And then 48 off, and then 24 in one station all together.
That
So,
would be more important than the police department, because they don't live with their
Nope.
their counterparts.
Because I know, you know, with my wife being in healthcare, that the medics are also, you know, live together. It's 24 on. And,
Sure.
And so, I mean, I would think that it would be even more important to, as far as living together, eating together, being together. You know, so I think it's great that they're going to start some of the workshops.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that coming up in a couple months.
And I had a nice little feature on TV the other day where they were going through the fire department downtown, and they were explaining to people, like I had no clue, that they have those little symbols on the side of the fire trucks. And each symbol represents something. So they zoomed in close, and they showed, like, you know, you had like 3 storks on one truck. And that means one of the fire people, sometime or the other, helped deliver a baby. And, you know, there was something else, which I forget what it was. And I said, please do such things. Then that creates interest, you know.
Absolutely.
Like, you begin to wonder, hey, what's that? And then, like, I'm with my magnifying glass, but not listening. I missed what it was. But that was interesting what they did. And it was the
cool.
downtown fireplace that they did that.
It was one of the local news medias?
Yes,
Like-
on TV news,
TV,
you know,
okay.
TV news, and probably WQAD, if I'm not mistaken. But I hope they
That's
do
what it
something
was.
like
They,
this more.
They tell news in deep.
Yes, I agree with you. So that was neat,
That's
Scott,
cool.
to
Yeah,
think
I'm
about.
gonna look at that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do we have any questions for Scott, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes,
Yep.
in the past, what have the firefighters have they done in the recruitment process to try to get minorities? Have they done anything? Since I'm a new kid on the block.
Absolutely. I think my involvement has been just getting as I've said in the past, utilizing the commission members, all your personal and professional circles or circles of influence, and helping us get the word out that we are hiring. So I'm always looking for ideas. I think the workshops will help get people together. It's one more avenue where we can ignite interest and curiosity on the fire department and allow them to sell, why the fire department is important and why it's important to increase the diversity. But it's outside of just getting the information out. That's really all that's happened. But there's always room for improvement.
Okay.
And so I'm always looking for ideas on how we can bolster that.
Okay.
Because we do seem to get, even with the police department, on that, when the applications close, I do look at an app profile, and I'll share all that once it closes. We have an overabundance of candidates who are applying. We are hitting the marks. We have, over, when it comes to African Americans or Latinos or even women, we've got a good pool to start with.
Sure.
It's just getting them to stay in the process, pass the certain sections of the process, and eventually get them on the list. That's what we need.
We was talking to Paul about that. They have such a big gap in doing one thing to another one, and if you working, you can't just keep taking off to do that. So maybe they could increase like 2 or 3 sessions at one time.
Well, we've got some of at least with the police department, we are guided by civil service rules. So we have to, when we close an application, we have a certain amount of time before we can do the first testing. And then once that closes, then we've got a certain amount of time that we can't do things too closely. Because I've heard in the past, some people says, why can't, because it's about a 4 to 5 months process from initial application to certification of the list. Can't we just scrunch that down? Well, we could probably take a couple weeks off here and there, but it's not going to make a huge amount of difference on the overall time frame.
They have to have some persistence and some dedication.
And that's what I talk. They got to have grit, and they just have to be patient and yeah, like you said, persistence and perseverance in the process. And especially, a lot of it depends, especially with the police department. If we have, it makes a big difference within the background investigation portion if we've got 20 applicants being investigated or 45, because that takes a lot more time and that's a lot more manpower. I'm sure your husband maybe has been assigned a background in the past, possibly, because it's kind of all hands on deck. The detectives get a file or officers get a file. This is your background. This is what you got to do. So it makes a big difference, and it'll lengthen the process if we've got more applicants, which is a good problem to have.
And
We want more.
I think we're succeeding a little, letting them be aware of what's involved. Because like you said with Macomb, going down there, a lot of those graduates are anxious to get to work, and they want to start having an income, and it's still going to take a period of time before that becomes a reality.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's difficult. I mean, all of a sudden, moving, having to have a rental deposit, having to go through that.
Sure.
Like you said, it's not an easy process. It's you have to want to do it, and in order to get to that first over that hurdle.
Yeah. True.
Any other questions do we have for Scott?
You all have, I didn't put this on the agenda because I didn't get to this until this afternoon. But I think one thing that this commission does not have has been bylaws or rules of procedure. So I tailored this to be very similar to some of the other boards and commissions that are currently operating in the city. So take this with you, read through it, see if it makes sense. I did leave some blanks for us to consider, like attendance, or the annual meeting where we have election of officers. Do we want that to be the first, in January every year, just so it's consistent, or a different month? It doesn't matter. And then attendance, how many absences are acceptable for commissioners before there's action to replace. So some of that has been left blank, that's open for consideration, but, before the next meeting, read through this, let's offer, comments, suggestions on, so we can at least kind of formalize this process.
I'm gonna excuse myself, my blood sugar's dropping, so I'll be back.
Sounds good, okay. You got a snack to,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you. For
So,
this,
yeah.
Scott, we needed this as we had.
Cause I think I talked about
discussed.
this at the January
Yes,
meeting,
we
and I
did
said I was
talk
gonna
about
have this
this.
on the
Yes.
agenda, but then I forgot about
No,
it. It was
that's
like, oh,
okay. That's
there we go.
okay. We could start off with the new year having this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just so there's some formalized process, cause I know, administration wants all boards and commissions to have
A formal.
kind of formal process
Procedure,
to
process.
fall back on.
Okay. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
that's
Thank you for this.
for you to all take
We take
And-
this along with us.
and offer comments and edits.
Before I forget, this is not on our agenda, but before I forget, just wanted to share with you all, as Scott mentioned about parties in the park. I had suggested as a part of Danforth Public Library Board, as well as, kind of representing all of us here, I suggested, like, when they were asking for input, I said, would it be possible that there is, how they have a little tent for city commission, all the city council people who sit there? Would there be a possibility, like you have a booth or a tent for commissions, committees, boards? Because there are so many commissions, committees, boards of City of Davenport. And we want people to participate in this kind of process.
Sure.
And what if, and all of us don't have to be there, but if we have information, someone, to some party in the park can be present. Because I do get questions sometimes, and the main question is, how much do you get paid? I said, no, this is a voluntary process. You go as a citizen and anyone can apply. So
Right.
no, you don't get paid for it, and I don't expect that. I just go because I want to help, or volunteer. So I had mentioned that to Marion, as well as
Okay.
Mayor Klipsch then had that meeting, so I mentioned it to him. So I just wanted to I would say push, but wanted to gently nudge if we
Sure.
could have something like this, not just for us, but
Yeah.
a little thing which says, hey, want to
Well, I kn-
volunteer with the city?
I know, the HR department is gonna have a table at all the parties in the park too. So I'll be at two of them myself, cause we've all had to sign up, cause so just talk about the opportunities of local government employment
Exactly,
and what's, jobs are coming up,
exactly.
so.
Pushing Davenport U in
Absolutely.
the process,
Yeah.
all that. So I'd mentioned Marion and Tiffany also had asked for responses. And I'd mentioned to both of them, I said, if you could think, I'd mentioned it to Mayor Klipsch when he had inquired about, so I said, this would be certainly great. People don't know that these things exist. And if, some want to help, want to volunteer, So,
I'll check with Tiffany
just a
and
nudge
see
if you
it-
don't mind.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
They need some more people to sign up too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I went through it. It was
It's-
really, I liked it until the fight part. Yeah.
Oh, the Davenport U?
yeah.
Michael, have you gone through that Davenport U Citizens Academy?
No.
It's very
Okay.
interesting,
It
Michael.
Yeah,
is.
maybe want to think about that.
Okay.
I think applications are open now, aren't they?
Friday, tomorrow,
Friday
last
is the
day.
last day.
Tomorrow, last day.
Yes.
It's probably on our website.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is on the website.
They take you to everywhere.
Every place.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Do
And
demonstrations.
the name of it, Davenport?
You. Just Danport to you, Michael.
Like university.
Like, and then they also have it on the Facebook page that they're advertising and talking about it with application form and stuff like. It's really cool, Michael.
They give you a little
cool.
certificate when you finish.
Yes.
Yeah, that might make
Right
people
here.
sign up quicker.
So it really is just a
So
great
if
way.
you ever apply for a job, say, hey, this what I done.
That's what I did. I graduated. I think Bettendorf does it, and probably other cities do too, but it's really a great way for citizens to really have an understanding of all the levels of operation that a city has. From the public works and streets, the finance, how do we pay for things? Where do your taxes go? How does that all work out? And then police and fire.
Yeah.
How their operations work. So it's pretty cool.
I think you also assume the city has all these resources,
Exactly.
and
Why don't we just fix all the potholes?
yes,
Right,
All
right.
of them. We should have none. Well,
Or-
it's not worked.
the sidewalks or whatever.
Exactly.
And when you talk to the public works people, they said, we have 3 that are dedicated to this.
Mhm.
And we have this number of places to address, and it takes time. The same with forestry. When you think of all the trees in town that currently are going through ash borer and all of this, it's just, it gives you a better understanding.
Michael, I'm gonna send you an email
Okay,
that I just got yesterday. I just remembered I had it from Tiffany, who works up in the council office, about the sign up process
okay, great,
with the link. So I'm gonna send it right to you, so you have it.
Yeah.
super.
That we don't have to search. If you're
Yeah.
interested, I'll let
Okay.
you decide.
They bring you down to the city hall and you take your picture and they give you a little piece of paper.
Picture. You didn't tell me about picture.
Do you want me to put it to you too? You gonna have time? You're gonna be out campaigning.
Yes.
I know I gotta get to work. Well, then he won't have time either. I already told him I need his help.
Knocking doors.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Any other questions for Scott? Any other questions for Scott?
I'm starting to check out because I'm gonna be on spring break starting Saturday.
You've already told us about the
I'm
warm weather. I'm
I
like,
can't
good.
wait.
Where you going?
You deserve
Fort
it.
Myers Beach. In-laws live down there, so
Are you flying or driving?
we're flying. Yep.
So
Some of
put
that
your
hot
mask on when you
sand
get on the
therapy.
plane.
I
That's what I'm doing.
know, really.
Nice.
Hot sand therapy.
So, any questions whatsoever? I don't mean to interrupt, but any questions? So do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Thank you.
Second,
Do I have a second?
second.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
All
And
those
then-
in favor?
All those in
aye.
favor?
Any opposed?
Yep.
Abstentions?
No.
And then you gotta do. Motion carries.
See,
Well, since
see
we
how
haven't-
long we have not met.
We haven't implemented the bylaws yet, so we can probably just kind of wing it.